Dr. Archana to deliver the welcome address. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, madam. Good morning, respected National President, Professor Dr. J. A. Jailal, sir, Honorary Secretary General, Dr. Jayesh Lele, sir, trainer for today's program, Mr. Prasanna Kumar, Convener Cultural Committee, Dr. Anita Madam, Dr. Pradeep Kumar, Dr. Madan, coordinators for today's program, my dear Cultural Committee team, and my dear participants. Warm welcome to everyone on this vibrant Sunday morning. COVID brought us pain and suffering, fatigue and exhaustion. It was our national president's dream that the cultural committee should come up with programs that will have no bearing with academics and will only help to cheer up and bring happiness and smiles on the faces of our members. So with this, we are extremely happy to be starting a Beyond Medicine series. So this series, we have named it Beyond Medicine series. This is a series of workshops where we will be bringing new hobby workshops every fortnightly, either on a Saturday or a Sunday as per the availability of the trainer. Me and my team is extremely happy to see an overwhelming number of registrations for this program. Nearly 900 people have registered for this live program, and this program is also going to be running live on our IMA Headquarter Cultural Committee Facebook group, IMA's Vibrant Doctors. So without taking much time, I welcome you all once again on behalf of my team, IMA Headquarter Cultural Committee, and we hope you all enjoy today's program. Announcements regarding future programs will be made at the end of today's workshop. So over to you, Anita Madam.
Thank you, ma'am. We are honored with the presence of our National President, Professor Dr. J. A. Jailal, and our Honorary Secretary General, Dr. Jayesh Lele. Now I would like to invite our National President, Professor Dr. J. A. Jailal, to deliver the presidential address. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Anita. Distinguished Secretary General, Dr. Jayesh Lele, the Chairman of the Cultural Committee, and very committed, dedicated worker, I will not say worker, a family for Indian Medical Association, Dr. Archana Pate and Dr. Mangesh Pate. The coordinators of this program, Dr. Pradeep, Dr. Madan, and other members of the Cultural Committee. I'm extremely happy that Cultural Committee has taken up this Mahmood project of entertaining, at the same time educating our members in the non-medical related topics. We always believe, IMA is a family. It serves to work for the holistic facets or attitudes or aptitudes of an individual. We work on the social platforms, social security, we work for the professional protection, academic empowerment. But what we learn and what we understand today in the world of amidst tension and a lot of competition, the lifestyle modification and making the lifestyle suits to the world, face the tension and adapt our lifestyle according to have a passionate and comfortable lifestyle is most important thing. And for that, definitely we need some talent, some art, some hobbies in our life so that we will be able to overcome the problems of the world, but problems of the profession, but at the same time recoup, empower and regenerate ourselves. We know normally we do on the sports, we normally do on the arts events, but something more than that. I'm so happy the Cultural Committee could innovate and brings in the topics on the photography. I'm sure that I hope that it will also include the editing, and it will also include how we will be making the photos suitable for our professional events also. Now we are living in a world of only Zoom connectivity, so there are also a lot of ideas and innovations are coming on the photos, editing the photos and making it suitable. We have, fortunately, all of us have now gifted with very sophisticated equipments like cell phone. If you really analyze the work a cell phone can do is marvelous, but hardly ever we use 5 to 10% of the cell phone. What most of us we use only for making a call and having some program. But one of the unit of the photography is definitely it is a great asset tool which is available with us, with which that we will be able to make wonderful life memorial events in our life. It is always pleasure to go back to look back into the old our photos, and maybe even it is black and white, but it gives a lot of happiness and comfort. So that photography and how to do it properly, how to store it properly, how to edit it and document it properly is an art. We are now today, all of us are gifted with the very learned speaker, Mr. Prasanna Kumar is going to talk to you on that art. This is only a beginning. I'm sure that many things are on the stock, on the pipeline with Dr. Archana Palte's caliber. She is thinking beyond our expectations. I was told that they are going to have the kitchen garden program also. They were going to tell us the horticulture. Definitely that is also a very, very admirable program. So on behalf of the headquarters, we appreciate the entire cultural committee. Even amidst this pandemic, that you are able to do a wonderful job. They are going to have the very grand finale in the December. And we all are looking forward to have that and see that. And I wish all the best for this program. Let us utilize this opportunity and utilize for our pleasure of our life, also as a profession in the professional works which we need to do. Thank you very much, Dr. Archana and the team for this wonderful opportunity, and wish you all the best once again. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your kind words.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your such kind and inspirational and encouraging words. Thank you very much, sir. I think we'll keep your hopes. Now, I would like to invite our Honorary Secretary General, Dr. Jayesh Lile, for sharing his view. Over you too, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Anita, respected National President, Professor Dr. Jayalal, Cultural Committee Chairperson, Dr. Archana Pate, Convener Anita, Pradeep Kumar, and the entire team, and our guest speaker, Prasanna Kumar. I think this innovative photographs, what we have the camera in our hand, is such a useful, and we just click photographs at random, and how we store, how we edit, or how we know. Really, we are not using it at all. We are just clicking the photographs, and on the WhatsApp we see those photographs. But later on, whether the photographs are properly saved or put it transferred onto the computer or edited or used, there are so many things can be done on the phone. There are so many small software will be available, and I'm sure Prasanna Kumar will tell us the photography workshop, all those things, like how we can change the picture, how we can change the background of that particular photo and add some photograph and other things. So really, this is the innovative idea of photography, and it will be definitely more than the what doctor needs in his busy tension of this COVID life. Last 1.5 years, they have not moved out anywhere. Neither they any good, gone to any resort or anything. And then this will definitely, when they start doing it, they can use this their photograph and this photograph workshop with the use of the good camera. And I'm sure he will tell us, and we will have some photographs also coming. And I'm sure they will replace their profile with this new photographs, because ultimately you have to show on the WhatsApp, and then once you call, then you'll come to know how the profile has changed. So I'm sure today's this workshop will be definitely useful for doctors. Doctors do click, and I have so many doctors known, they do the photography workshop also. But then this is little different than what they use SLR cameras. Really, cultural committee is doing a very great job, and this is a great solace to the our members and interest. And she told me just 900 plus members have joined, and I'm sure day by day with the newer and newer ideas coming, the more cultural committee members at the same time. Non-doctors also can join this. That's the most important thing. It's very important that we are working for the family. The doctor may be busy, but at least this family, his children, maybe his grown-up children, using the phone, they will use this. And I'm really, I shall support the entire your programs, Archana. Keep it up, and very sure that your cultural singing last competition also will be a great to watch on and to listen on. So my best wishes to the entire team, cultural, and whatever support you need from IMA headquarters, it will be always supportive. Thank you so much for allowing us to talk. Go ahead and start the program.
Thank you very much, sir, for such an inspirational and encouraging and giving us this opportunity. Thank you very much, sir. Over to you, Dr. Archana, ma'am.
Uh, Thank you so much, National President, sir, and Secretary General, sir, for your kind words of appreciation and support. Jailal, sir, as I said, this is a series of workshops that we are starting, and this being the first workshop of the series, Beyond Medicine series is what we have named it. So I request you to kindly inaugurate our series of workshops, sir. So today will be our first session in that series.
Yeah, I am extremely privileged and blessed to inaugurate the Beyond Medicine series of workshop to be organized by the Cultural Standing Committee of Indian Medical Association. I do wish and hope this will be a great blessing and useful for our entire medical fraternity. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. And we look forward to your support and blessings, sir. So over to you, Dr. Pradeep Kumar, for starting with our workshop for the day.
Thank you, ma'am.
We request all the, Dr. Pradeep, would you please request all other participants to mute themselves?
Kindly mute yourself. Just the speaker should be talking now. Please mute yourself. Ma'am, few were saying that the audio is not audible. I hope that it is audible now, because there were a few comments saying that the audio is not clear.
They can disconnect and reconnect again. Otherwise, I'll talk, tell Anand to check it. But I think most of the people are able to hear.
Sure,
maybe one particular case may be there. So let them disconnect it and start again. There is no problem.
It's very much audible, Dr. Pradeep.
Okay, ma'am. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, dear ma'am, Archana ma'am, for overseeing this workshop. One of its kind, just click it, mobile phone photography workshop. So it is not just a slide presentation. It is going to be an interactive session. And before we start this, I would request everybody to take your mobile out and click a photo of somebody, preferably a person or a pet or something like that. And we can just see if we are able to improve our skills after the workshop. So basically, we'll be covering these steps: framing, how to take photos stunning every time, and what is the golden ratio. This would be a little bit theory process, and monochrome editing, and finally how to edit your photo right on your phone so that you can just upload it and it creates a wow factor. So this is coordinated by myself and Dr. Madan, members of the cultural committee. The speaker is Mr. Prasanna Kumar. He is a well-known YouTuber, and he is having his own Instagram channel where he uploads photos of celebrities. So his YouTube channel is Laughing Buddha. You can just Google it and you can subscribe to him. And he has this Insta page with his stories by PK. So he is basically settled in the US right now. He was born in Kerala, Palakkad, and raised in Chennai. And he got his passion in photography when he got a DSLR camera at a discount rate in Amazon. And his passion is mainly taking photos of persons, and his specialty is boudoir photography. Unfortunately, we cannot share those in this right now. All these are photos taken by him. And his motto is just get going and just click it. And a mobile phone camera is available with everybody. You need not wait for a special gear or anything to click a photo. You just take it out and whip it out and you take a photo, and that is good to go. Over to you, Prasanna. I hope you're here.
Yep. Can you hear me?
Please screen share. Start screen share.
Yeah, sure. Before I start, thank you, the president of IMA, Dr. Jailal. Thank you, Dr. Jayesh. Thank you, Dr. Archana, Dr. Anita, and Dr. Pradeep for all the introduction. I'm going to start my presentation. Just one second. Yeah. So I think back in college or so, when I got an opportunity to use my friend's camera phone, I thought my ambition would be to earn and buy a camera phone. But look at the technology today. We can do wonders with camera, and it's very affordable. We all have it. So sometimes we take that for granted. If there was one, if the camera price was more than affordable, or if that particular gadget was unavailable to most of us, then anyone having the camera phone would have known how important or precious the phone is, the gadget is, and would have obviously used it more than how we all use it, is what I think. My professor used to say this. My professor used to ask me or ask the class which is the best dictionary, and we all gave the answers like Oxford and Cambridge and things like that. And he always tells us whatever dictionary is used is the best dictionary. Now, extrapolating that to the mobile gadgets we have, I would say whatever camera is useful is a good camera, because these days sometimes we get um, updates on cameras or Android versions more than once a year, and all that we think is our camera would have been better. That way we can take good pictures. But I would defer to that thought alone, because what I think is everyone's camera these days in Android or iPhone are having very good specifications, and that would be more than enough to take some good pictures. Um, I'm basically a DSLR photographer, but I don't belittle the mobile photography aspect, because I think that's another form of digital, and digital photography is really a bliss to most of the photographers in the world, because it can do tremendous wonders. And in this session, primarily what we will see is how we can use the camera in the mobile phones we all have, be it Android or iPhone. So this is not going to be more like a theory class wherein I say that we have something called an aperture, or we have something called a shutter speed. No, we will see some terms, but this will be more from the user point of view. Dr. Pradeep said, take one picture before starting the class. That way we can track the progress. I know most of us would have connected using Zoom mobile. So it is very difficult to do that. But what I would say before we begin into this class is, at least think of one moment wherein we thought we could have taken a better picture when we were outing, or when we were taking a picture of ourselves, or when we are taking a picture of any object. Just think of that moment. That picture might be in your gallery as well. You can take a look at it after the class is over, but I would say just at least recollect that. And with that, let's enter to the session. Like Dr. Pradeep introduced, I'm a freelance photographer. I have very specific interest in everything that deals with photographing people. That will include photographing a newborn, or a model, or an event, or many others. You can find more pictures of mine in my Instagram page, but whatever I have used in this particular presentation are beyond. There are some pictures I have used which are beyond my interest, because I just wanted to give an idea of what we are trying to achieve here. In most cases, the mobile photography is very useful when it comes to taking a quick picture of ourselves, or when we are out for a vacation or with family, we go to a particular place and then we want to capture that moment. So these are distinctively two different things. And let's see how we can use the concepts we discuss here, how we can apply that. That way we are at least aware of what mistakes we are making. In most photography courses, the guide or the tutor, the mentor always says that I have the key to taking great photographs. But what I'm going to say here is, you have the gadget is with you, and you have uh, I don't have the key to your success in taking good pictures. I would say you have the key, you have the gadget. My work here is only to give you certain tips or guidance. That way you can use your key to take in good pictures. A camera, I would say, is more like a tool. That's all. A tool, like a pen. anyone who has a camera cannot become a good photographer. It's like saying anyone with a good pen can become a good poet. My work here is not to tell you how to use that pen. My work here is to tell you how we can use that pen to write good poetry. So on that note, and I hope that you all would have recollected that one picture you thought it could have been done better. With that, let's get into what the agenda of the program is. So I've basically divided that into two broad classifications. First is take a look at the fundamentals, and then the concepts. Now, when I say fundamentals, don't think that I'm under the impression that you should have already known all these things. No, I'm not that. I'm not saying that. The concepts are pretty simple. What my focus here is to make you understand the basics. That way, you can have a very good understanding of what you're trying to take, because that is the top priority of taking good photos. So the reason why I have started with the fundamentals is sometimes when we are going into concepts, we might use the words like subject or focus. At that time, it should not be very confusing for you. And this particular presentation, I have customized it only for mobile photography. So there'll not be any DSLR specific terms. Like for example, aperture, even though you can control your aperture or shutter speed in a mobile, I'm going to leave all that concepts to the DSLR part of it and focus here only on using your camera on your iPhone or Android, and harnessing it to the best. That way we know how to take some really good pictures with that. So let's start with the fundamentals. Under the fundamentals, we are going to discuss on what a subject is, what focus is, what lighting is, and what framing is. And then we'll use all these concepts in composing a picture and processing it. So we have all these facilities now easily available on cell phones, Android or Apple cell phones. So let's take a look at them one by one. There's a famous photographer called Ansel Adams. He takes mainly black and white pictures, and this is a very famous quote of his: "A good photograph is knowing where to stand." I totally agree with that, because it is not that a good photographer will take a good photo. No, it's not that, because the photographer only understand how that photograph could be, how that moment could be made even better, how to capture it precisely. And that's what we are all going to learn now. Let's start with the most basic thing, which is the subject. Subject is generally, or if you would want me to explain what subject is in simple terms, I would say what you're trying to capture in that photo. What is the objective of that photograph? What you're trying to capture? Anything could be a subject. Anything under the sun could be a subject. Like if you are planning to take a picture of a dog near the building in a beach, and you want to focus on the dog, then dog is your subject. If that's a picture of a building near the beach, then your building is the subject. If that's a picture of a beach, then beach is the subject. Precisely, subject is nothing but the primary thing you want to have in your photographs. So anything could be a subject. Anything. It could be a kid, it could be an old man, it could be a stranger on a road, it could be a busy marketplace, it could be a beach or a building. And why I say subject is the most primary thing here is because your subject is going to decide what type of photography you're taking. For example, if you're planning to take a picture of a flower vase, then your flower vase is your subject and you're trying to take a still life photography. But if you would want to take a picture of a burger, then you are actually taking something under the food photography section. And if you are planning to take something, if you're planning to take a picture of a kid, then you're actually taking a newborn photography. If you're planning to shoot something for a endorsement and you have a model, you want to focus on the model, then you're shooting model photography. If that's a building, then it's architecture. If that's a beach or a mountain, then it's landscape. So whatever picture you're trying to take, what is the objective of the picture, what you're going to show in that picture, that is the subject. And anything under the sun could be a subject. These are some examples. So if you observe in slide number one, picture number 1 and picture number 2, both pictures show a beach. But the first picture, if you see, it's actually a starfish on a beach. Now, when I show you the first picture alone, you might be tempted to say, I have clicked a picture of a starfish. But when I show you the second picture alone, you would say, I have taken a picture of the beach. That is the difference a subject is going to bring to your pictures. That is, if you would want to showcase a big landscape, then you don't involve any kind of objects in the foreground. That way, you're focusing on the landscape alone. But if you would want to have that landscape as a backdrop and have anything more in the picture in the foreground, then that particular object in the foreground is going to become your subject. And that's why I said your subject is going to decide on what kind of photography you're planning to take. Now have this in mind, because anytime you would want to take a picture, first you would have to decide what the subject is. On that note, let's go to the next fundamental concept, which is the focus. Now, focus, with this word, I'm sure that everyone knows what I'm trying to achieve here. Actually, focus is the place in the picture, the area in the picture in which the detail is at its peak. Most cases, the focus will be sharp on objects. When I say sharp, there'll not be any blur. The sharpness would be at its best. And that particular area, we will have some options in our phones to find out or to adjust the focus of that particular area. And that's the area in which the subject is present. In most phones these days, be it Android or iPhones, the focusing is not a very big deal. Back in the days wherein we had films loaded in SLR cameras, the focus used to be a big thing, because it would take 1 or 2 minutes to adjust the focal ring manually to, patiently focus on what we are trying to do, and then click a picture. And then came the autofocus on SLRs, and then came the DSLRs. Now, after the DSLRs came into pictures, now that under DSLRs, we have a lot of things like mirrorless and things like that. But when it's a phone, it's a total different ball game. The focusing is going to be in a very simplified manner. These days, in fact, all phones comes with autofocal ability, and focusing is not going to be tough at all, because it is just a matter of one touch on your camera phone. I would say just touch. We would have to just touch on what place that phone needs to focus, because after we finalize the subject, when we are going to click a picture, we would have to obviously adjust the focus. So we'd have to just touch on one particular area wherein the subject is present. That way the camera identifies that that's the area in which the subject is present, and then it will try to recalculate its focus. In most cases, it would have already focused. In some areas, sometimes if we are moving the camera very quickly, it would take some 2 or 3 seconds to recalibrate on the focus. But anytime before we click a photo, it's always good to touch where the area in which the subject is present. In fact, I'm sure that most of us, when we were using the Android phones initially, we would have clicked on many pictures in which the focus was not good. There were a lot of blurring, or there were some shakes. So this particular aspect will actually address that particular error. And then in phones these days, we have something called a photo mode versus a portrait mode. And I'm sure everyone here knows what a portrait mode is. Portrait mode is actually a mode in which the subject, actually, if we are taking a person, the person will be actually sharp, but there'll be a lot of background blurring. The background would be blurred, and it is actually a fantastic way of taking photographs. In DSLR terms, you would have to use something called a prime lens to achieve that effect. But these days, since all the phones comes with 2 or 3 cameras, the blurring and the subject can be done in a very efficient way, and that gives a very good look on the photograph. So we can use the mode to decide on the focusing, and then we use the touch to actually focus. And the third point I have mentioned here is focus according to the type. So in most cases, the general conception is whatever the subject is, it has to be focused, and there should not be any kind of out of focus. There should not be any kind of blurring. But I would say sometimes we use that particular aspect also, the not so focal area or the blurred area in our photo, but it will not be a subject. That will enhance one kind of that will actually enhance the way in which the picture is present. For example, if you take this picture, if you see this particular part, that is the kid holding the flower. In this picture, the flower is our subject. It's not the kid. That's why the focus is on the flower. But even in this picture, if you observe, the background of the picture is blurred. This can be easily achieved in the portrait mode we have in our phones. And if you take a look at the second picture I have placed here, it's actually a distant kind of house along with trees. But if you closely observe, there'll be a lot of flowers in the foreground itself, which is blurred. So we can use blurring. It should not be on the subject. It can be incorporated into our picture to enhance the look of the picture. Either the subject is very much in the background, but the subject is focused, and then we have some foreground blurring, or the subject is actually standing in front of the camera, but the background of the subject is blurred. In most cases, if we use the portrait mode, we can adjust it in such a way that the person is actually sharp, but the background is blurred. But in some cases, like this picture number 1, even if you would want a person to be blurred and you're highlighting something else like this flower, the focus should be on the flower. That way, even the person gets blurred. So blurring and focus are 2 important things to add variety or beauty to the pictures, to any kind of pictures. And this focus can be done very easily in smartphones just by tapping. If you see here, I have just placed a picture here wherein the person tries to just click on that particular false, and then a small square, yellow color square appears. That is the place wherein the person wants the focus to be at the max, and that's why the person has touched that particular area of the screen. So when it comes to focusing, first decide what the subject is. It will mostly be yourself, or any object you're planning to take, or a particular group of persons under a background. So after deciding on the subject, the next thing we would have to do is recalibrate on the focus. So for doing that, we can simply touch on the area in which the subject is present, or in our phones, we have something called a portrait mode. We'd have to just go to that, click on that portrait mode. The portrait mode will simply be next to the photo mode. Click on that portrait mode and then find out the subject position, recalibrate, and then click on that picture. That way the focusing on the subject is good, but the background is blurred. So this is another interesting and basic concept, focusing on the subject. So far we have seen what a subject is, how to focus on the subject. Next, we move to light. Now, without any second thought, everyone knows that a good picture is basically a combination of many aspects, and one important thing under that is light. In fact, if you understand the concept of light, it is the most quickest way of taking some good pictures. Because when it comes to photography, it's basically light manipulation, if you would want to call it that way. So anytime we take a photograph, we have to spend a couple of seconds to identify how the lighting is in that particular environment. Now, when I say how the lighting is, it could be either a natural source of light. In most cases, it will be natural source of light only, or it could be a artificial light. That is, we are trying to, adjust some kind of a lighting. That way, the picture looks good. When it comes to natural light, like we do in most cases, it will either be sun, because we are going to take a picture in the outdoor location, or it could be the house light we have, like a tube light or a bulb light, or it could be a candle, or it could be a torch light. Now, when it comes to the artificial source of light, that is, the in photography terms, we say something called a strobe light. Now, what the concept of strobing is, there'll be many soft lights available in the market. There'll be some ring lights. And if we would want to take some pictures of ourselves, or if we are doing some kind of a video documentary or entry or anything like that, we are free to purchase something called a ring light. Now, the ring light will have 3 or 4 modes, like there'll be bright, there'll be dim, or there'll be yellow, or things like that. You can also additionally purchase some soft light, which will be powered by an LED. Now, all these will be really useful when you are taking pictures only in indoor locations. When it comes to outdoor, you would have to carry the lighting unit, and sometimes you will not find any power source to use it. But if you are actually a photographer, then you will you know how to you will find some gadgets in the market which will have some temporary battery backup, and you will have some other options to change your light source when it comes to outdoor, or use a reflector and things like that. But I'm sure that most people here are trying to understand how best to use the mobile phones, mobile cameras, which you already have. So I would say the most the most used source of light in your cases would be the natural light. And the most when it comes to natural light, the most used are the source would be maximum, it will be the sun. So what we have to do when we are trying to take a photo is first check how the sunlight is. Now, all these things, when I'm talking about the subject or the focus or the light, we have 2 or 3 other concepts also to be discussed. When I'm taking all these, you might think, how much should I, calculate in my mind before taking a picture? But all these will come through practice. It's very simple. Even while we are adjusting the frame, we will know that that particular part of the frame will not have any light, because there is a big rock or a big tree, and that will cause a shade. So we'll automatically ask the subject to recalibrate on their position. That way they get some good light on the face. So all these things will naturally come by practice. And when we are taking pictures outside, it will mostly be the sun, like I told you. So first thing what we have to check is how the sun is, which particular direction the light is at the maximum. But it should not be a very hard light. When I say hard light in the sense, there'll be a lot of shadows in the picture. So if you don't want that shadow to be on the picture, like when we are taking a flash without using some kind of a diffuser, it will be really harsh. Sometimes when we are taking a camera picture also, we might see our own shadow on the wall. Or when we are taking a picture outdoor, and if we are wearing a cap, the cap shadow will be on our face. All these things we have to make note, that way we will not repeat them again. And when I'm talking about light, it's not, I just don't want to explain what light is and go to the next slide. I just want to give you an idea how best we can, harness the light source to get our picture stand out. When it comes to indoor, like if you are going to take any artistic pictures, you could use a candle light, and then you can actually cover one half of the face. That way the shadow will actually look good in that picture. So we should not have the generic idea of thinking that when a picture has some blur portions, the picture is bad, or when the picture has some shadow, it is bad. We just have to understand all these things. That way we can sometimes even incorporate these into the picture to make it stand out. So understanding the light source. So basically when we go out, we have to find out where the sun is. The sun's light should not be very hard that it casts a shadow. That way we have to move a couple of feet away from it, and then find out if there is a place in that particular setup wherein the sunlight is not harsh but it's visible on the face, and it takes a good kind of picture. So that is one thing about light. The second thing is, in most phones these days, along with calculating the focal area, we also have an option to brighten the picture. So I'll when I'm going to the next slide, I'll let you know on that. And then the third thing what I would want to explain here is HDR. What is HDR? How best we can use HDR option to take some picture, or to understand the light situation, or to make it even better. So the first thing is under light. The first thing under light is, yeah, like I mentioned, there is an option in all our phones to brighten a picture even before we take it. When we decide on the subject, and then when we focus on the subject, what we do is just a simple tap on the area in which the subject is present. Now, when you tap that particular point, and if you move your finger up or down, the overall brightness in the picture will increase or decrease. So when we are having a subject or a person we want to click, or if we are the person and we give the phone to someone else to click, we have to have this understanding in mind to brighten our picture or to reduce the brightness in the picture. That way we have an optimal amount of light on the subject, and then we take a good picture. So first we know what a subject is, and then we have already focused that subject by tapping on that. Now we come to light. When we come to light, what we have to do is, after clicking on that particular area in which the subject is present, we either slide up or slide down. That way we adjust the brightness. So this is the most easiest way to adjust the brightness in any picture. Now we have all had this option called HDR in our phones. We have seen it. Sometimes when we are taking a picture, the HDR option will automatically pop up and it will ask, do you want to use that or not? In those cases, we can use the HDR, but I'll tell you what a HDR is. Sometimes when we are going out to take pictures, what happens is the background will be so bright that there'll be a lot of light. And when we are taking a picture, the background will look very good, but our face will be black because of all the brightness. Or what happens is, we are actually when we are taking the picture, when we are focusing on ourselves, we see that our face is properly lit up, but the background is too dark that we are not able to see anything at all in the picture. In those cases, when the subject, whatever you are trying to take, it could be yourself or a rock or anything for that matter, the subject and the background, if the brightness do not tally up properly, like you would want to take a picture in a sky which is maybe orange. So if you would want to take that picture with your face properly illuminated, and then when you are taking a picture, you see in one picture the background is okay, but your face is dark. In the next picture, your face is okay, but the background is dark. In those cases wherein the subject's light and the background's light do not tally up, we use the option called HDR. The HDR is simply a program. Since we have 3 or 4 cameras inside a phone, and we have a very good software inside a phone, what happens is when we are taking a picture with the HDR mode on, in most cases, when we are taking a picture itself, there'll be an option called HDR, which will pop up. So we have to just click that. When we are taking a picture with HDR on, what happens is the camera will take a series of 2 or 3 pictures without your knowledge. You will just click once, and then it will say processing for just 1 second. You have to give it a second or two for the picture to load. So what happens is when you click on the picture with the HDR mode on, the camera will internally take 2 or 3 pictures, and what it will try to do is optimize the light. That is, it will have you also well illuminated and the background also well illuminated. That way, it will just merge the pictures in such a way that it will look good and all parts of the pictures are well lit. This option is called HDR, and it will be very useful when you're taking pictures outside mostly. So in this slide, we have seen how to increase the brightness just by tapping and then sliding it up and down. And then we have something called HDR, which we'll use when the background and the subject, the light conditions do not match. Now we have something called a night mode in our cameras. Night mode and HDR are more or less the same. When we are taking pictures at night, the subject, which will mostly be yourself or anything else, any other object, the subject will not be well lit. It will be dark. So when we are using night mode, this night mode is available in your iPhones. In Androids also, like if you see in the leftmost picture, you see something called a photo, and next to that you see something called a portrait, right? That is actually the portrait mode. And then if you scroll to the right or left, you will find something called a night mode. So when you click on night mode, it will actually take a picture. It works very similar to what I explained for HDR. That is, the subject and the background lighting modes do not match. And in this case, it will mostly be very dark at the night. So what happens is, it will take, again, if you have, when you're using night mode, just click once and then give it a second or two. What happens is internally it will take 2 or 3 pictures. It will try to somehow match the background and the subject in such a way that even though it's dark, the subject is kind of visible. If there is a good illuminated background, it will display the background. Otherwise, it will leave the background black and then or dark, and then it will have your the subject alone well illuminated. So basically, night mode and HDR are more or less the same. Light mode, we take out the night mode, we take it during the night time, and then the HDR, which will mostly be during the daytime. But the recalibration and the combining more pictures, that will all happen internally without your knowledge. But these are some modes you can use. That way, you know, if you just take a picture, at night using photo mode, mostly you'll end up with a dark image. But if you understand the situation, if you understand the light condition, it will help you decide to take the best option to take a picture in that setting, right? This is what we are trying to basically achieve here. So, so far we have seen what a subject is. Anything you would want to take is a subject. Focus, anything you would want to have sharp on a picture, which will mostly be your subject, is the focus. The brightness, click on the focus area, move up, down for brightness, and then you have the HDR mode, and then you have the night mode, which will be useful when the light conditions are tricky. Moving to the next concept, which is framing. Framing is more or less, I would say, it is the most fundamental, it is the most important fundamental concept, because only with framing, you can add so much to a picture to make it beautiful. Framing is basically how you would want how you would want to bring in some kind of an attention to the subject. So again, the subject could be anything, right? But how do you know what frame you're choosing is a good frame. For that, we have some options on our mobile phone also. And then there are some generic options also, which we'll discuss in our, in our slides. But one rule of thumb for framing, I would say, is when we are taking a picture, we have to make sure that we are using up the frame. That is a very good way of capturing a picture. So even in this frame, if you are able to see me, I have some free space here. I have purposefully left that. If I'm coming too close, it will not be good on camera. So, and then if I'm too far, then you will not understand what the picture is. So we have to decide an ideal way of framing our subject. Now, like I said, there are some options in our phone which we can use, but the generic idea is to just fill up the space. Somehow try to fill up that. Don't cram things into a frame, but try to fill up that space as much as possible. And the most common mistake every one of us do is how we frame. That is, any picture, if we would want to take, we have to just give it 1 or 2 seconds of thought on how we have to frame this. In most cases, what we do is take our phone and then click the picture. We don't give it time. That particular time, if we are willing to invest in any picture, it will obviously show up in our results. Most people, including myself, when we are taking a bad picture, it would only be because we have not given enough time to frame that picture. Sometimes when we are taking a selfie of ourselves, we'll keep the phone too close, so the picture will not accurately depict what we are trying to capture. Sometimes when we are taking a group picture, what happens is one person is actually out of the frame, your face is too close, or your hand is too much visible, but there are more persons in the frame who are not shown, or there are some kids in the picture who are not visible. All this is happening. Or when we are taking a picture of ourselves, a selfie of ourselves, the light will not be on our face properly, it will be too dark, or like I said, it will be too close. Can you hear me, Dr. Pradeep? I would need your help. Kind of an issue with my headphones, but Dr. Pradeep, can you hear me?
Yeah, please.
Okay, yeah. Sorry about that. So in most cases, what happens is the framing is where we make the mistake. We have to just give it 1 or 2 seconds so that we can decide which is a good frame, and then we can take a picture of that particular frame. Now, like I said, the most common or the most useful tool or option in our phone to compose our framing is using grids. So we have a setting in our camera.
Prasanna, can you sit a bit closer to the microphone or something? Your audio is a bit feeble now.
Oh, okay. Just 1 second. Let me grab my the other 1 second. Can you hear me now? Pradeep? Can I continue?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. So when we are using framing, the concept, to understand the concept of framing, the best thing what we can use is using the option called grids. So this option will actually be in our settings tab. When we go to camera and then when we go to settings, we would have an option called grid. We would have to enable that grid option. That way these horizontal and this vertical lines appear in our camera, and we would be able to...
Prasanna, audio is not clear, Prasanna.
Oh, just 1 second. What the problem is?
Others are saying it's clear. Okay, okay, you proceed. Please proceed. Please proceed.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Please proceed, Prasanna. Please proceed.
Okay.
Yeah, we can hear you. Please go ahead, Prasanna.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah. So the option of enabling...
Prasanna.
Yeah.
Prasanna, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Pradeep, but I don't know if you are able to hear me.
Sir, are you able to hear the audio, sir? Madan, sir?
Now it's not here audible, sir.
Yes.
Previously it was,
Prasanna?
now we can hear you. Now, Prasanna, we can't hear you now.
Just one
Prasanna?
second. Can you hear me?
It was better before, now completely lost.
Sorry about all the confusion. Dr. Pradeep and Dr. Madan, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Dr. Madan, Dr. Pradeep.
We're not able to hear you.
What about
yeah, now it's better. Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, okay. Sorry again for all the confusion. I don't know what happened with my
pretty clear. Please go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. So the concept of framing, like I said, the most useful tool for framing would be to use the grids. We'll have a setting called grids in our phone. In our camera phone settings, we have to enable the grid. The grid will bring up this horizontal and vertical lines on the picture, on the camera, and we have an option to figure out what we can take using these grids. Most phones these days have the 3x3 grids. Some have even the 4x4 grids. Some have something called 3x3 grids are the most common thing, but sometimes you also have the golden ratio grids, wherein the horizontal lines are more close to each other compared to the 3x3. That's the only difference between a 3x3 and a golden ratio. Now, using this concept to compose our framing, when we are taking a picture near the photo, we have something called 0.6x or 1x or 2x, that option. These three options will give us a better understanding of what kind of pictures we are planning to take here. For example, if we are having a landscape in our picture, then the option we'd have to use is the 0.6x. If it's a normal picture, it will be 1x. If it's a zoom or a close-up, it'll be 2x. Sorry. So if you observe here, I have placed three pictures. First one is in 0.6x, that option will be always present in your phone when you open. And then in the 0.6x, you would find a lot of landscape, the clouds, the sea, everything is present. In 1x, it is even more zoomed. In 2x, it is very close to the subject. So these are some options you can use on your phone, like grids or the wide angle versus zoom, the 0.6 versus 2x. These are options you can use on your phone to figure out what kind of framing you would want to have. Now I'll quickly brush up the basics alone. So first thing is subject. Subject could be anything, including yourself or a rock or anything you would want to take. Focus, how sharp the subject is in your picture. Light, how good the light is. Is it dark? Is it is it natural, or are you using some kind of an artificial light to illuminate the picture? And then when it comes to focus, you have to just tap on the picture where the subject is present, scroll up, move up for increasing the brightness, move down after touching that particular area of focus to reduce the brightness. And then you have something called a grids, which you can have on your screen. That way you will have more like a guide on what you can take. And then the second thing is using this 0.6x versus 2x, the wide angle versus zoom, to figure out what kind of a picture you want to take. Now we are good with the basics. So when it comes to the concepts, it will mostly be how we can apply these basics together to take a good picture. So the most important concept here, I would say, is composition, how you want to compose your picture. Now, when I say composition, it's not a very difficult thing. Composition is basically how you put all these elements of photography into a single picture. That way it looks good. Because in our lives, we have taken some pictures wherein the subject is good, but the light is bad. Sometimes the light is good, but the focus is bad. Sometimes we would have covered the subject on a beach, but the beach is not visible. All these mistakes could be corrected if we are good with our basics. So when I say composition, all we have to do is apply all these concepts together. That way we can compose a good picture. So once we are good with this composing, our work is really simple. We have to just wait for the moment and adjust the parameters accordingly and then click. That way we get a good picture. Now, when I say incorporation, it will be mostly the incorporation of all the elements, basic things we have already learned, like the subject, the focus, the light, and how we frame. And then when we are doing this, we actually tailor every option we have learned so far, like the focus tab, the brightness square, the light on the subject. After this, there are some most famous or very important composition techniques, which I'll explain you with some examples. These techniques can be employed in your pictures. That way, the results will be really stellar. So let's go to the first and the most common way of composing a good picture. It is called the rule of thirds. A rule of thirds, we have a modified version also for this, which is also called as the golden ratio. So when I say the rule of thirds, if we enable the grid on our phone, we will see that on a 3x3 grid, we will have 1, 2, 3, 4 points wherein the lines intersect. Okay, one will be on the left top, left bottom, right top, right bottom. For taking a really good picture, we have to somehow align the subject to one of these points. That way the subject really pops out in the picture. So if you take the first picture in this case, it is actually a dog. But if you see the photo is aligned in such a way that the dog's head, the place wherein the focus is at its max, is actually aligned to top right point wherein the lines intersect. You can have your picture, your subject aligned to any of these 4 areas and it will really make a good picture. I have taken 2 cases wherein one picture has the subject in the center of the frame. In most cases, a good photographer generally does not have the subject in the center of the frame if there are any other ways by which the photo can be aligned. I'm not saying that having the subject in the center of the frame will make a bad photograph. No, nothing makes a bad photograph. I would say it is all based on whatever rules we have learned so far and how we actually break those rules. So in this case, I have had the subject in the center of the frame and the other picture wherein the subject is at the bottom right point where the lines intersect. And clearly, to my judgment, I would say the picture which aligns to the rule of thirds is actually a really good picture because it gives us a feeling that the swimmer is actually going somewhere. But here it is more like a pose. So these are some additional ways by which we can actually compose the picture. So in this case, when we are composing a picture, what we would have done is find out what the subject is. Like in our first picture, it's actually a dog. Click on the dog's head. That way it focuses there. Adjust the brightness there. And then enable grids and compose it in such a way that the dog aligns to the rule of thirds. Rule of thirds is just one kind of a suggestion by which we can have the picture clicked. I'm not saying that rule of thirds is the most important or the only way, but it will give a different angle or a different perspective to the picture in which we are the picture we are taking. The next thing is leading lines. So leading lines is another way of composing a picture. That is, anywhere we are taking a picture, if there are any lines already existing in that particular setting, we just take advantage of that line. That way the focus of the viewer, whoever is seeing the picture, automatically comes to the center in which the lines converge. In our first picture, what happens is we have a subject, a person, going from one place to another, but we see a lot of leading lines to that particular subject, right? We have some railings here, we have some walls here, we have some decorations here, all of which have lines. Now the photograph, when it comes to photography, what we can do is check the existing environment to make sure if we have any ways by which we can take advantage of it. So in this case, the composition technique used is the leading lines. So anytime you're taking a picture in an outdoor environment, and if there are any lines, we just don't stand in front of the lines. Instead, we find out a way by which the lines point to us. Just moves elsewhere where the light is okay and the focusing is okay, and then try to compose it in such a way that the viewer gets the attention of the subject instantly. So these are some effective tips by which we can do that. In our second picture also, if you see, all the lines here, it's actually a subway, but we are actually using the subway walls to compose a picture in such a way that the attention to that particular subject is at its maximum. Even in the second picture here, if you see, the technique used is actually a leading line and the rule of thirds, because the subject is actually approximately near to the lines in which the point in which the lines actually meet. So these things will give the extra attention to the viewer. The next best composing technique is actually symmetry. So whenever we have something symmetrical, we take advantage of it by capturing the symmetry of that particular place. In this case, the first picture is actually two buildings, and if let's say we had a flight in between, the flight would have got the immediate attention, and this picture would have been really good picture. Even now, I'm not saying it's a bad picture, but I'm just trying to give you an example. Here, the building is the subject, But if we had a flight in between somewhere here, the flight would have been a picture, and we are actually using the symmetry of the buildings as a backdrop for that picture. Symmetry actually works very well when it comes to reflections. Even in our earlier picture, whatever I had used, I would have had the kid playing in the water. So if you see here, the kid's reflection is on the floor, and this symmetry will actually add an extra bit of beauty to the picture. So we are using some kind of a symmetry. For if we are using some kind of a symmetry, we have to just make sure that it's adding some value to the subject. In the second example for symmetry, I have kept a building, and the building's reflection is on the water. So when you are having any kind of a water source like a beach or a lake, and if we are trying to capture any kind of a picture like a kid on the lake or a building's reflection on the water, we have to make sure, or one suggestion I would offer is compose in such a way that you're making use of the symmetry of the the subject's reflection. So these are some ways by which we are incorporating actually the basics we have already learned. Here the building is the subject. We made sure the focus is okay, the lighting is okay, and then we have composed it in such a way that the symmetry looks good, and then we are taking a picture. So these are some extra things we can take while capturing a picture. The next is processing. Even while this class began, I saw, the introductory speakers were saying a lot of processing related things. But I would say if the picture itself stands out, there's no need for much processing. And traditionally, the processing was actually outside of the place wherein the picture is captured. Generally, it will be on a lab, and then it shifted itself to a PC. Now all the processing is inside the camera app itself, and I'll show you some easy ways by which we can decide what kind of processing is required. I'm not going to go into details of how we can process. In fact, even the prior slide of composing, the composing for landscape itself is a separate course in itself. And when it comes to posing, the art of portraiture, again, it's a totally different division in itself. Similarly, processing is a very big area, but currently in this session, what we can do is we can find out what options the camera has for processing, and then I'll give you an introduction to some tools by which we can actually process some pictures. So processing is basically a way to edit and enhance the look of a picture. Inside the camera app, like I told you, we have some options like vivid or noir, and then we'll see how we can balance the tonality using curves or vibrancy, and then using some apps to do all these things instead of manually adjusting it ourselves, right? So cameras these days, they come with the mode on how you would want to take the picture. Now it's our decision to change the mode. And if we are changing the mode, it will really bring a difference to the picture. So our thing is, after composing, we would have to find out what we are taking. That way we'll understand the mode to use. If we are going for a outdoor location, on a summer day, on a sunny day, then we use something called a vivid warm. It will add more warmth to the picture. Overall, the picture will look kind of yellowish. But if we are just adding vivid, it will just, subtly, it will, add the colors, the vibrancy of the colors will actually pop up. So if you just want the colors to pop up, then you use the vivid mode. If you would want to add some kind of a warmth, like a yellowish or orangish tint to the pictures on an outdoor location, we use vivid warm. And if we would want to have the pictures as a black and white picture, monochrome, then we use the option noir. Now, the choice of the vivid and the noir modes can be used on portraiture also. Like original picture will appear as a simple plain picture, but if you are using vivid warm, um, the vivid warm can be employed in some indoor locations also. Like for example, you go to a hotel or a bar or a sports club, the lighting would be somewhat different in those cases. And if you would have any kind of an orangish light there, go for a vivid warm picture. It will add some kind of a quality to the picture in which you are taking. Or if you don't have that, and if you are looking for any kind of a black and white picture, then go for noir. Again, the choice of color versus monochrome is a very important thing. We would have to find out where we are using monochrome, that is the black and white picture, as compared to the color picture. In most cases, or many photographers also, they usually say that black and white photography is the best photography, color photography cannot come near it, and things like that. But for me, it's like black and white photography has its own place in the photography kingdom. But I won't say the color photographs are bad as well. So it is basically a choice. And one quick suggestion from my end to use that choice would be, first find out what you're trying to take. If it's an expression, or if it's some kind of a thing which does not need any kind of deviation, that is, you should not be deviated by the makeup or the background, then go for monochrome, the noir mode, the black and white picture. But if you would want to show something as is, or if there is something very colorful in your picture and you want to show it even more colorful, go for vivid or vivid warm and have it as a color picture. So take that choice of what you are clicking, that way you know which mode to use and where to end up, that is with a warm tinge, or a color popped picture, or a black and white. In this case, for example, if you're trying to take a picture of a flag, then it will be a color picture, obviously, because you would want to show the variations in color. If you have a stunning backdrop, you would want to show that as well. In those cases, it is not does not make sense to go for black and white. So these are some choices we have to take. That way we use the right options to take a good picture. And the apps. So there are a lot of apps in Google Play Store and in iPhone store, and you can take a look at any of the picture processing apps these days. They are much advanced than what people used to do in lab or with Photoshop. There are a lot of apps, but I would say choose the convenient one. But if you were looking for an app with a lot of options, then I would suggest something called a Photoshop Express. Photoshop Express is a free app. You can find it in Google Play Store. The app has a lot of features. Like previously, photographers used curves and levels to balance the tonality of the pictures. But there are some ready-made options in your pictures which will make your pictures pop up, change color, add vibrancy, change the contrast, change the brightness. If your picture wants a blur, you can add the blur to the picture. If you already have a picture with the blur, you want to increase the blur, you have options to do that. You have options to rotate a picture, transform a picture, and then change the aspect ratio. It's a very simple tool. All you have to do is just select a picture, and then you will have a list of options like what is mentioned here and here and here. And then it is all a matter of trial and error. That's all. When it comes to ready-made options, you have some exposure, fade. You just have to just click on various things to understand how the picture is. That way you will have an understanding of what option you can use on that particular picture to make it stand out. But when it comes to processing, I would say first, it is always good to understand the basics and compose a picture good, because composition is work half done. if you have composed it really well, it is a matter of only enhancing the brightness and color. That's all. If you are doing all these three things together, you will end up with a really good picture on your phone. And then I have a bonus slide, that is the how to take a good selfie, the art of self-portraiture. In most cases, our subconscious will tell us that a selfie is a really simple thing, because we just have to switch on the camera and then take a picture of ourselves. How difficult would it be? But that's the most trickiest part. The self-portraiture has been in our times since painting days, but selfie adds a new dimension to it. When it comes to selfie, I would say the key is adjusting the face or giving it an angle. And then the other thing about selfie is how we are expressing ourselves in the picture. Obviously, we would need to have the light done properly. The framing was just us. The subject is obviously us, but the expressions and the angle we give to the selfies make a really good picture. When it comes to portraiture, again, like I mentioned earlier, portraiture itself is a big topic, but I'll just give a quick introduction to this. That way, when we are taking a picture using our own camera like a selfie, it is really good and it is really easy. So like I said, it's about the angle. In most cases, the common mistake what we do is we switch on the camera and then we take a picture just in that very next instant. No, I would say first figure after turning on the camera, figure out which angle really looks good on that camera. Do you have to go with your chin up or chin down? But it should never, in most cases, it is ideal not to face the camera as is and then take a picture. Just give it some kind of an angle, um, or a pose. Try to smile, try to take one without smiling, and then chin up or chin down. Watch elsewhere, watch the camera, or give it an intense look. It is a matter of angle and then the pose. And in most selfies these days, it is just the expression which counts. In most people, with a plain expression, it does not the selfie picture does not pop up as good as the one with expressions. Even a small kind of an expression would add so much to a picture. So that is something we can have in mind while we are taking a picture. And then using the concept of light and shadow. So in this case, I have purposefully taken two pictures wherein we can highlight how it could be done, or how we can use the environment to adjust the way by which we are planning to take a picture. In the second picture, it is more like a good source of light is hitting the subject's face and the photos click like that. But in the first picture, the light is actually hard. It is casting some shadow, but the person is actually using that as a way by which to enhance the picture. The shadow is on the face, the finger shadow is on the face, and then the picture is actually clicked with the shadow. So these are ways by which we harness these basic concepts to make our pictures look even better. The most important thing of selfies is to calculate the frame or adjust the frame. We have to first when it comes to group selfies, it's also called as group fees. We have to figure out how many people are in the frame, who is holding the camera, and how these people are going to accommodate themselves in the frame. When it comes to group fees, if you are the person who is taking the group selfie, then I would say first have the frame adjusted, and then let everyone in that particular group just inform everyone in the group that this is the frame, and try to accommodate yourself into the frame. After a couple of seconds, just give them one quick instruction to watch the camera and then click the picture. That way the group selfie appears even better. In most cases, what we would do is just take the picture, and then once 2 or 3 persons are in the frame, we start clicking 10s or 20 or even hundreds of pictures. But in most cases, we would have left some part of the group in those pictures without clicking them or without framing them. So to avoid these we can actually try to find out the actual the group size and the framing distance, the distance between the subjects or the background and the subject, and then give it 2 or 3 seconds. Just let everyone know this is the frame so that they can accommodate themselves to the frame. Once they are all in, just give them a quick note that you are going to click the photo, and then if you click the camera, the photo, it will really be a very good picture. That's it from my end. So you can find me in all these platforms, social media platforms, in Twitter or Instagram. You can send me a message or email. I have my email ID here. So these are some ways by which you can reach out to me. And yeah, like I mentioned in the beginning of this presentation, just think of that particular moment wherein you thought that you had a better picture, or take your gallery and find out if you have anything or person whose photography, who that photo, if you think it could have been better, just try to incorporate these concepts while taking the next picture and try to figure out if you are able to do it. The basic things like the subject and the light, the frame, if you are the focus, if you are incorporating these into composing a picture and then taking that composed picture to processing, then it will really be of very good significance to you. Because while composing, you would have used the grids or the 0.6 versus 2x, and then while processing, you would have used the vivid, warm, or the vibrance and saturation and every other option available, and it will end up with a really good picture. That's it from me. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Prasanna. So we were planning for a live demo, and due to some technical glitch, it was not possible by the speaker. So I have my screen here, and I'm going to show you what all he has just explained. So I'll be showing you a live demo of sorts. So it will be just like a wrap up. Hope you can all see this screen of mine, right? And here I have my daughter here. Can you sit here and everything? So she is going to be a subject today. And this is what Prasanna was speaking about. So you can see that there are 4 yellow corners here. So that is the zoom option. So if you don't tap your screen and you just take a photo just like that, often you get that the subject is not exposed properly and he is blurry. So what you do is you just tap on the screen like that, and you can see the 4 yellow corners there, and then you can take the photo. So just like that, you can see that the photo is better. And the grid lines which he was talking about is, after you enable the grid lines, or in some models it is called the guidelines, you can see the 4 grids, where the 4 grids interact. Here 1, here 1, here 1, and here 1. So make sure that your subject is at the intersection of one of those lines, either here or here or here or here. So when you take a photo, that comes out better and it is more pleasing on the eyes. So one more thing, what he explained was about the exposure. So after you tap on the subject, you have an option to increase the exposure. If you swipe up, it becomes brighter. I hope it is visible in the screen. So if you swipe your screen up, it becomes brighter. And if your subject is underexposed, this will help in brightening up the image. And again, if the subject is very bright, for example, if it is in the sun or something, you can just bring the slider down, and that is again going to darken your image. So like this. So if you bring the slider down, so that is going to darken the image, and this will help you in getting better exposed images. And they were asking about the various noise options. I would be demonstrating that now. And the HDR option is here in my mobile. So if you turn on the HDR, this is an Android model. And if you turn on the HDR, you can get a better dynamic range of images. So I'll be again showing a small demonstration of Photoshop Express. This is a freely available program. You can download it on the Play Store. So this is an underexposed image which I took earlier before the workshop started. This is a very dark image. As you can see that the image is very dark here. So what we can do is, you have options here to change the exposure. You can see a slider here. So when you click on the slider, there is an option called exposure. you can see the option called the exposure here. So this is just a demonstration, and when you increase it, you can see that you can expose the exposure a bit after that, and you can compare the before and after. This is the before and this is the after. So there are a lot of options here. The vivid option, the noir option, and lot of other options are also there. You can play around with this, and it's a creative thing only. So whatever you fancy, you can just edit and you can add that option here, and you'll have this is for like filters and all that stuff. So this is a free program available in Play Store. Anybody can download that. Yeah. And by the way, this is Nivriti, my daughter. I've been making her sit since morning. So say hi, Nivriti. Thank you.
Dr. Pradeep,
so, Prasanna, I think we have a lot of questions from the audience. And
yeah.
If anybody has any feedback or queries, you can unmute yourself or you can type in the chat box also. So we'll be having another workshop if in case anybody is interested, a DSLR workshop. We can have that again maybe next time. So any feedback, any queries, I think you can add it in the chat box, or you can just type, you can just, unmute yourself and ask. So, so people are saying that the DSLR workshop is very much needed, and there are very good people here who are very Photoshop experts. So people are very well versed, and people were talking. When Prasanna was so we have a question here from Nandini. What is the golden ratio? Prasanna, would you care to explain that?
Yeah. So in grids, when we enable the grid, it'll you have the screen separated as 9 different small blocks, right? That's actually called the rule of thirds. But when these horizontal lines are even closer to each other, that's when you call it as a golden ratio. That scientifically they have proved that that is very much appealing to the eye. Let me quickly see if I'm able to see the golden ratio here. Okay. Just 1 second, please. Yeah, okay. Just 1 second. Let me share my screen. Okay. Yeah, okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So golden ratio is actually a mathematical concept. There are a lot of things which come under this golden ratio thing. Like, for example, the conch, right? It's called the sangu in Tamil. The conch, if you see, that has a spiral on top of it. And that spiral will actually come under, the spiral actually is coming under the golden ratio thing. If you calculate it mathematically, there are a lot of things which occur in nature which will come under this mathematical concept. Actually, there is a formula by which you can come under the conclusion if this photograph falls under the mathematical concept or not. But this is the general idea. Okay, so if this is the frame, and if you're placing a subject here, the subject could be here, but if you're tilting it, it could be here, it could be here, it could be here. Any of the 4 corners, it comes under the golden ratio. For example, this man is climbing this particular landscape, and if you see here, the man is actually under this particular area, so it actually comes under the golden ratio. This is more or less the same as the rule of thirds. But in golden ratio, these 2 lines are even closer to each other. In rule of thirds, they'll be equally divided, but in golden ratio, they'll be closer to each other. So that's the golden ratio. And for a start, I would say if you are well versed with the rule of thirds, that's a great beginning.
So there is a question asking, how can you take a photo of a flying bird or any other subject who is in motion, which is in motion? Prasanna?
Yeah, actually these days we don't have, yeah, these days for taking a picture in action, we don't have to worry much. Actually, the sensors are so good that even if you're trying to take a picture of a bird, like I think last time or so when I was using the phone, I actually used the mobile photography very less compared to DSLR, but when I was taking a picture of it, I was able to find that without any kind of shakes or blurs. So only thing is, when it comes to flying objects, the reaction time in which we are trying to take a picture should be really quick, because we have to immediately compose, click on that, and then take a picture. The key here to just focus in the area in which the flying object is present. Like if it's a bird, just immediately go there, click on that bird, click on the area on the phone in which the bird is present, and then click a picture. It'll come up really good.
Ratna, there's a question about the panoramic mode. Could you explain something about that? Panorama mode.
Yeah. Yeah. So panorama is actually a separate mode in itself. So where we employ panorama is nothing but when it's a really big, generally we try to fit in a big landscape in landscape mode, that is with 0.6x, or we can even go further down with 0.5 or 0.4. But if it's a really big landscape, and if you are not able to fit that even in 0.6, then you go for panorama mode, wherein you have an option to pan the entire landscape, and everything you pan will come up as one single picture. But these days panorama mode is not very used for taking landscape pictures. There is a different use for panoramic pictures these days, that is to have a little bit of creativity. Like for example, we go to a Qutub Minar, and the Qutub Minar is actually a really tall building, and if you are standing besides that you can actually tilt your phone, switch on the panorama mode, and then tilt from bottom to up. That way you have a big picture of yourself standing next to that particular tall building. The only thing with panorama mode is the dimensions will, if you are printing that on a postcard that is on a 4:6, it will not look really good. That is just to employ your creativity. And if you are you're looking for pictures wherein you want multiple versions of yourself in the same picture, that concept is called multiplicity. So what you generally do is, let's say you're taking a picture of your kid, you ask your kid to be in one particular frame, and by the time you frame to the next part, you ask your kid to come that particular place and then stand. That way you have two versions of the same subject in the same picture. So these are ways by which you can use panorama.
So are there any other queries? I think there are a question about a raw image mode in high-end models. Is there a raw image option in basic models? I'm not sure.
No, actually, when it comes to raw image, yeah, when in DSLR you have two distinct type of image modes. That is, one is raw, one is JPEG. JPEG is actually a compressed version, but I would say JPEG itself is more than enough for our uses. When it comes to raw, generally even when I go for birthday functions, I don't use raw, because for birthday JPEG itself should do. The only place where I go for raw mode is when we go and cover very important things like weddings. For example, if we are taking that picture, and if that brightness or any kind of a setting is tricky, then with the raw mode in an image processing system, like for example Adobe Lightroom, we have lot of options to pump up the brightness or bring it down, increase the vibrancy of the picture or bring it down. That is the colors or brightness. You have that extra option with the raw image. So that is the only place mostly, raw basically comes to that professional section only. If you are getting paid for your pictures, and if you really want your pictures without any problems, then you use the raw mode. If it's for hobby itself, I won't say raw mode is that much important. And basically raw mode comes only when you are using DSLR photograph for mobile. You don't have to worry at all. Pradeep, Dr. Pradeep, you're on mute.
Dr. Pradeep, please unmute yourself.
Yeah, ma'am. Sorry. There's a question about the pro mode actually.
Pro mode, okay. So if you're interested in pro mode, I would say it's time that you leave your mobile and take up a DSLR, because in pro mode actually you have a lot of options to adjust your you know, aperture or change your ISO or shutter speed. But I would say the only reason why we are picking up a mobile phone over a DSLR is for convenience, right? Ease of use. So when you are taking, if you are having the patience or interest in putting up so much energy to go into pro mode, why do you want to pick up a mobile photograph, mobile? That's my question. If you have that interest and knowledge, better go for DSLR, because when it comes to adjusting the aperture or shutter speed, DSLR is, you know, way ahead in using or employing those options compared to mobile pro. So in a nutshell, if you would want to say, if you would ask me, I would say aperture, you know, how much light enters into the system, how quick the system has to click so it goes to the next picture. All those things can be adjusted in mobile pro mode. But if you are interested, go pick up a DSLR.
There's a question asking HDR enabling should be on always or only when required. Whether the HDR option should be enabled always.
Okay, so in older versions of iPhone or Android, the HDR should be manually turned on or turned off. But in latest versions, or I would say even if you're having an old phone, just update that app alone. Or there are a lot of other camera apps available in Google Play Store and in iPhone Store. In most of the new apps, if you are taking a picture to the tricky background itself, the HDR will automatically trigger, or at least you will get that option in the screen saying that HDR, do you want to turn it off or on, something like that, HDR enable, something like that. Even when Pradeep was showing the you know, Pradeep was composing a picture of his daughter, the HDR mode, you might have noticed that in a screen. So these days, it's not a very big thing. The HDR mode will either be already enabled for you, or at least it will come up as a pop-up. You have to just click on that and start using. You don't have to go to settings. Previously, it was the case, but these days, it's much simpler.
There's a question asking about the megapixel count of a mobile phone. Does it have a really important role?
The megapixel actually has an important role, but I would say this particular class, in fact, the way I started is don't trust your gadget or don't blame your gadget. Our work is to find out a way by which we can utilize the maximum from the gadget we have. So yeah, mobile megapixel definitely makes a lot of you know, difference. That's like comparing a refill and you know, a Parker pen. So you have a difference, but what you are going to write with that is what we have assembled here for.
There's a query about a micro focus. I'm not familiar with the term. What is micro focus, and can you use it on a flower or something like that?
Macro mode, maybe what he meant was macro mode.
Macro mode, probably.
Macro mode.
Yeah, okay. So macros actually, so when we were discussing on the grids, you have an option called 0.6, which will actually be a landscape, and then 1x is actually your normal photo, 2x is your zoom, right? So if you are zooming it even further to 5x or 10x, that's actually the macro. In DSLR, what happens is you cannot zoom it to such a close extent or such a high you know, variant. So you have something called a macro lens itself available, but in phones you have the option to increase that factor from 2x to, there are some phones wherein you can increase it from 2x to 10x, and that's called the macro mode. In macro photography, again, that's a different type of photography, and it depends on what subject you're taking. If you want to take a picture of a housefly or the tip of your ballpoint pen, go for macro. Otherwise, you don't have to use that macro itself. If you're focusing on a very small thing, then go for macro. Increase your multiplication factor. That way, the camera adjusts it, and then you take a picture. But there is a one small catch that if you are increasing the zoom factor, there might be an impact on the quality. So that's one thing you have to keep in mind. That's it.
There's a question about which DSLR camera would you prefer for a beginner? I think that's a very difficult question to answer again.
That's a difficult question to answer. It all depends on what you're trying to take actually. But I would say DSLRs, if you're going to purchase a new camera, even if you're a beginner or not, I would say go for any mirrorless cameras. I have a Sony mirrorless. Sony they are actually producing really good mirrorless cameras, and you have a lot. When it comes to cameras, it's actually how you buy your body and then how you assemble it with different kinds of lens available. So you have to have a concept of what photography you take. For example, when it comes to portraiture, you go for prime lens. When it comes to macro, you go for macro lens. You have it something called a telephoto, multifunctional. There are a lot of things available. First, I would say just figure out what photography you want and then go for any mirrorless body, and then go for any lens which will suit your interest.
So there's a question asking, in indoor photography, the face looks artificial, but in another mobile, face looks enhanced. Maybe the lighting, I'm not sure what he's talking about.
The same, okay. So if you are going to click the same subject in two different cameras, and if you're finding different results, it might be because the second phone has some good settings enabled, or the second phone might be a latest model, because in these days, what's happening is when it comes to, camera on a mobile, traditionally what the system was, you have just one camera and then you take a picture. But these days you are using your camera not only for photography, you use it to scan your QR codes, you use it to scan your documents. There is a lot of processing happening in your mobile actually, more than what you do with your camera. So our work is to just understand everything so that we can, use the right modes or settings to take a good picture. So it might be because of the focus, it might be because of the settings, or it might be a really new camera, wherein a new phone wherein they have employed some really good lenses. So anything could be the reason for that.
There is a question about any additional lenses which are available on Amazon or something which can add to the iPhone to take a better image or increase the zoom of the phone. There are some attachments available, I believe.
There are some attachments available to increase the zoom of your phone. Yeah. But I would say, if you are interested in taking those pictures, go for those gadgets. Otherwise, whatever you have in your phone would be more than enough.
Any tips for profile photos on social platforms, Instagram, etc.?
Profile, the last two slides I had included only for the profile pictures. If you are planning to take some selfie, again, the art of portraiture itself is a big topic. We have to start from Leonardo da Vinci asking Mona Lisa to pose, because it comes from, Renaissance period. The only thing is there is some advancement in how we are capturing these models, that's all. So just give it some angle, try to have some lighting on the face. Always don't face the camera, give it some angle, give it some look, give it some expression. So that will all change the way by which the photo looks.
What about the live mode in iPhone? There's a question from Dr. Sudha. The live mode.
The live mode?
I think it's when you take a photo and it's like a video is shared, I think 2 seconds before you click it, it's recorded like that. I believe that's the live mode. I'm not sure.
I don't know about the live mode.
So, Archana ma'am.
Yes, Dr. Pradeep.
Can we wind up, ma'am? It's already...
Yes, I think we are already reaching 12 o'clock. So, yes, okay. So, thank you, Mr. Prasanna. I think that was an excellent, fantastic, fantabulous presentation. And I think it is evident by the responses that we are getting on the chat box. So, thank you so much for that awesome presentation. And I think people did learn a lot of practical things from your presentation. Thank you, Dr. Pradeep, for the live demo, and much love to our beautiful model Nivritti. And yes, thank her on our behalf for agreeing to model for, that photo. So now announcement for the registrations that what I would like to do, because I saw a lot of queries there. Please understand that these registration forms are generated for the Zoom. And so when you register, please see one from which mail ID you are registering, because at times if you have got 3 or 4 mail IDs registered on your mobile, then in that case you may happen to register from a different mail ID and you may be expecting the mail to come on a different mail ID. That is one. Second, the registration link, once you register, will come directly from the Zoom. So what you will see is as a link coming from... Dr. Madan, please mute yourself. Yeah. So you will see the registration link coming directly from Zoom. This registration link should come immediately as soon as you have registered for the workshop, and it may go in the spam folder once in a while. So please check your spam folder also if the Zoom link has gone into the spam folder. We will also try to send a Zoom link once again prior to every workshop that you register for. So please do excuse us because the link will come from Zoom and it is not going to be coming from IMA headquarter mail ID. So I hope there is no confusion over there. Also regarding today's workshop, we are going to be circulating Google Forms by mail, and we do request everybody to give us your feedbacks regarding today's workshops and also your suggestions regarding the next workshop. We cannot send the recorded version of today's program to everybody by mail individually, but the recording will be uploaded on our IMA Facebook group. We have a separate Facebook group for the cultural committee by the name IMA's Vibrant Doctors. It is for our IMA members, and I request each and every one of you to become a part of this group because all our future announcements are going to be coming on this group. So now I'm going to be making before I start with our future announcement, I would like to, from our IMA Headquarter Cultural Committee, I would like to thank Mr. Prasanna Kumar with this certificate of appreciation. Is my screen visible?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So from our IMA Headquarters Cultural Committee, we present the certificate of appreciation to Mr. Prasanna Kumar for conducting Just Click It, the mobile photography workshop for members of Indian Medical Association. Our heartfelt thank you, Mr. Prasanna Kumar. So coming to, I will be sending this certificate by mail to you, sir. And coming to our future workshops, on 21st August from 4 to 6 p.m., we have a green harvest workshop, which will be a terrace gardening workshop. On 5th September from 10 to 11:30 a.m., we have a soap making workshop. On 18th of September, we have a best out of waste workshop coming up. On 16th of October, we have Hasya Kavi Sammelan, which is being organized. It will be in Hindi. It will be a live program. On 30th October, we have a Rangoli workshop. So many workshops are in the pipeline. Do join our IMA's Vibrant Doctors Facebook group because you will be getting all the notifications over there. One more announcement that I would like to do, and this is very important and a huge announcement from and commitment from coming from our cultural committee. On 22nd August, we are launching a pan-India singing competition by the cultural committee of IMA headquarters, that is IMA Sargam, which will be running through 4 rounds. That will be a qualifying round, a zonal semi-final, all India semi-final and the final round, and it will be culminating into a cultural mega festival that we are holding on 17th, 18th and 19th of December by the name Mega Fest 2021, where videos of all the finalists will be played over there during that mega festival, and it will be, as of now, it will be an online cultural program. First week of September, we are launching our Pan-India dancing competition for the IMA, MSN and JDN members with the name of IMA's Dancing Superstars. The third competition, we are launching Pan-India competition. We are launching in the 3rd week of September by the name of IMA's Adakars. And this will be a Pan-India mono acting competition. And in the mid-October, we are coming with Pan-India instrumental competition with the name of IMA's Symphony. Okay, and all the finalists of these, we also have our judges which are already being finalized for the same, and you will be soon seeing all the instructions, the rules for participation, the Google Forms coming to you from your state branches. We're from headquarters, we'll be sending the details to the state branches, and from the state branches, we'll be requesting it to come down to the local branches and the members. We will also be trying to circulate all the details via social media on WhatsApp, and every detail will be there on our IMA's Facebook group, that is IMA's Vibrant Doctors. So if you join IMA's Vibrant Doctors, you will be having a direct access to the announcements that are being made over there. So with this, I thank each and every participant who has participated today, and I hand over to Dr. Madan for the formal vote of thanks. Dr. Madan, would you please take over?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. I would like to take this opportunity to thank the National President and the HSG sir for giving us this opportunity to host this photography workshop. First of all, for having faith in us to give the opportunity. And next, I would like to thank Mr. Prasanna Kumar for detailedly explaining each and every steps in mobile photography. Even who would have not had the photography interest, you have made them to create some awareness in taking photographs. I thank you, sir. And with the feedbacks we are getting in, and we are happy that Dr. Pradeep had taken a good speaker and good presenter regarding this photography workshop. And I would like to thank all the members who have actively participated, who have registered for this photography workshop and showed enormous interest, who have joined on time for this photography workshop. And I thank our cultural committee members, everyone who have been with us throughout, especially Dr. Archana ma'am and Dr. Anita, who has been supporting us from behind, and which had enabled us to do the work comfortably and with utmost interest of members, all IMA members. We would like to reach to all the members with this photography workshop. And since this is the first workshop in this Beyond Medicine series, we're a little tensed in starting up this, and this is a good sign that we have a good feedback, and it will motivate us to do much better jobs in coming future workshops. Thank you, one and all.
I must put on record our sincere thanks from the IMA Headquarters Cultural Committee to IMA Headquarters when they saw that our number of registrations were increasing from 500 and beyond. So without even us asking for it, our webinar, this participation size was increased from 500 to 1,000. And my sincere thanks to Mr. Anand Gautam from IMA Headquarters for giving us the technical support throughout the webinar. And before that also, and I'm sure it will be after that for all the workshops. And to Mr. Yogesh, thank you so much. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you, Dr. Pradeep, Dr. Madan, for coordinating this event so well. Once again, sincere thanks to Mr. Prasanna for exceptionally explaining us the concepts of the mobile photography, and our sincere thanks to all the participants for today's program. And of course, my team cultural committee, I know we are a vibrant group, and we will be making this cultural committee very, very vibrant, and we'll take it ahead very nicely. So with this, thank you all for joining us on this wonderful Sunday morning, and we look forward to spending more Sunday mornings in a better and even much more vibrant way. So thank you, everybody, and we'll be ending this session.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Prasanna.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay.